one of the best things that ever happened to my life is that I was arrested.
For months, we've been covering the fallout from the Blake decision, a 2021 move by the state Supreme Court that made the drug law unconstitutional. People were behind bars who shouldn't have been, not to mention there's been millions of dollars in fees and fines paid out by people convicted of drug crimes now considered unconstitutional.
What has become known as the Blake fix refers to legislation passed in Washington state to restore penalties for drug possession. That came after a 2021 Washington State Supreme Court decision referred to as State v. Blake, the Blake decision, and it made the state's previous drug possession laws unconstitutional. In February of 2021, the state's highest court ruled that Washington's felony drug possession law was unconstitutional because it did not require the prosecution to prove that someone knowingly possessed an illegal substance. In the case of Shannon Blake, the court ruled it was unfair to criminalize an individual for possessing drugs they didn't know were on their person. And in this case, Blake argued she didn't know there was a baggie of drugs, methamphetamine, in the jeans that she had supposedly received from a friend. Now, the ruling meant that anyone with a past conviction for simple drug possession was entitled to have that conviction vacated entirely from the record and potentially receive a refund for any fines they had paid. In essence, the ruling decriminalized drug possession in the state of Washington. Washington lawmakers came back and passed a temporary measure that classified knowing drug possession as a simple misdemeanor. This was a stopgap law, and it was set to expire on July 1st of 2023.
In the ruling, the drug possession law that had been in effect for decades in Washington state was ruled unconstitutional. Fortunately, the legislature, which was in session at the time, was able to act quickly, and they passed a law in 2021 that recriminalized possession of hard drugs, although there was a lot of criteria that was required before anybody could be arrested. So essentially what happened is law enforcement, providers, advocates had to deal with a new law that was implemented quickly, but what we quickly found is it wasn't very effective.
So what happened is the legislature put off and decriminalized the use of drugs for the last 2 years. This year we need to look at a fix, an easy fix. It's a one-word fix saying knowingly possess drugs. Why this is so important, that you've seen for 2 years the dehumanity of people on the streets, our next generation, the use of drugs.
During a special legislative session in May of 2023, the state legislature passed Senate Bill 5536, making knowing possession of a controlled or counterfeit substance a gross misdemeanor and allocating funding for treatment and diversion programs.
I was introduced to drugs at a really young age. And despite my sort of inner conscience telling me that that was a poor route to go, my environment had a massive effect on me, and I ended up becoming a drug addict. And any addict that I've ever met in my life, including myself, you're compelled to, meet the needs of your addiction.
We cannot offer hope for these people that are in the throes of addiction. What good are we?
The incarceration, first of all, was really necessary because what that gave me the opportunity to do was separate myself from a destructive path that I could not stop on my own. When I was in the Regional Justice Center, I got the opportunity to do a 60-day inpatient program where I woke up in my jail cell, got myself ready, ate breakfast, and I went to a room over to the left, and I spent the majority of the entire day, Monday through Friday, in that room, addressing underlying causes, looking at, things that contribute to drug use, et cetera, et cetera.
So this new law provides a couple options. First off, it makes possession of hard drugs a gross misdemeanor. Second off, it does make it an arrestable offense, but it encourages officers to divert folks to services if that's possible. It encourages the prosecutor to divert folks to services if it's available and possible, and gives people a chance to vacate their conviction or not be convicted at all if they follow the treatment programs.
The ruling impacts over 200,000 felony drug possession charges dating back to 1971 and an estimated additional 150,000 misdemeanor marijuana charges, according to Washington courts.
One of the best things that ever happened to my life is that I was arrested. I would not have been able to stop on my own. And obviously, there's a lot of work that I need to be doing in the world. And there are a lot of me's out there that are so capable and intelligent, but they cannot figure out how to get out of the maze. And that's what Blake did.